It's Spoilerin time, folks. On this show, we take all the hard work we do on our other show, Cordkillers, figuring out where the streaming services are and what the devices are, and we watch stuff and talk about it. This week, we are going to talk about Miami Vice, Season 3, Episode 17, The Afternoon Plane, with guest appearances by John Leguizamo and Vincent D'Onofrio. We're also going to talk about The White Lotus, Season 2, Episode 1, and Star Trek Lower Decks Season Finale, Season 3, Episode 10. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Hey, dude, I cannot wait to dive in. Can we start with Lower Decks?
Yes, let's start with Lower Decks, Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3, and where, despite the fact that I feel like our pitch for what the finale could have been was much more interesting, it was a very sweet episode, actually. It was nice.
We threw a lot out there, and I want to say we were batting 50-50, about batting 500, I think. We got some of it exactly right.
We got a few things right, for sure. We just didn't get the setup for the next season the way I was kind of hoping. That everybody becomes a pirate and Tendi takes over as a pirate and all that. But yeah, we got Mariner back in the saddle. Rutherford kind of resolved the secret of his past, but kept his implant.
Which, by the way, that was one of our calls. Was that some remnant of bad Rutherford was going to show itself, which did happen. Also, they did unite in epic fashion against being replaced by drones, where all of the I'm not going to lie, I really dug that silly moment where all of the California-class vessels show up and increasingly rapid fire, they just name all of the ships, and all I'm hearing is every city I know in California.
Oh, when they named my neighborhood, I was like, yeah, I'm a ship.
Oh, I'm not going to lie. I got the same giddy excitement. I wanted to cheer when they said Eureka, because that was where I spent my summer once.
Yeah. And you got a little Texas hit too when they named the other Texas class automated machines.
Yeah, I guess so. But those were the bad guys, so I didn't pay a lot of attention or feel good about those.
It was the Corpus Christi and I can't remember the other ones now.
The San Antonio was one, maybe.
Was
Something
it?
Like that.
That sounds
it felt
right.
like they intentionally didn't choose the most popular places. They were using out of the way.
Oh,
They didn't use Katy though. That
Apparently the Houston was one of them.
yeah.
was it the Houston?
I think there
Really?
was
Okay.
one big one,
All right.
but yeah.
Loved all of that. The going in reverse order from the very end, Bryce had to tell me, did you know there was a post-credit scene in this one, Tom?
Did I? I think maybe I didn't.
You probably didn't, because it automatically popped up the thing to say you want to watch something else before
Right.
the credits finish.
And then made it real small over here.
Despite the
here's
fact-
just credits that you don't need to worry about.
Tom, they fooled you. They got you off the highway too soon.
Those jerks.
You're going to have to U-turn and get back on. It's going to be a whole thing.
Okay, so just tell me what it was.
What was it? It was
just seeing Badgie.
Oh, yeah, there was Badgie on one of the implants. Someone had grabbed one of the debris of Rutherford's implants, and Badgie was in the screen.
So, and that was during the episode, they talked about how oh my God, this was made by old me, this code, this is my Rutherford impression. Old me would do, what if Badgie got into a system? That'd be terrible. And then at the end, after the credits, some sinister force teleports or tractor beams up some of the wreckage from the end of season 2. I love that this. No. Season 2 was where what's his name? Shax?
Boimler.
No, where he sacrificed himself to blow up the bad guys.
Yeah.
The same place that peanut hamper was floating around forever.
Fart Nugget.
Right.
Oh, fart nugget. Yeah.
Was that the same debris or just
I assume
debris?
so.
Oh, yeah, I guess we don't.
I mean, it looked identical. It looked like that's a place we should remember as the debris field from that one battle.
Oh, yeah. I guess if there was an establishing shot, but it also could have just been from the Texas class ships, because that was the problem, is that they were corrupted by that AI.
Oh, Scooper Nova Girl is saying it was the end of season 1 when Shax died.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
By the way,
he saw the prophets.
Shax has that amazing moment where he starts off getting mocked for wanting to eject the warp core, and then he gets to do it, and everybody's high-fiving him. And that was
Boimler
great.
feels bad about imitating him, and Shax is like all upset at him, and his way to make it right is to recommend ejecting the warp core, which makes Shax. I love that. Good. I love that whole scenario. That was amazing.
I often pitch the show because everybody, it's really astonishing. People who are really into Star Trek will always shrug and say, "Ooh, is that the cartoon?" I'm like, yes, everybody thinks it's a comedy. It's not a comedy. It's just another season of Next Generation, only everybody's self-aware. And so it's like, that's a very good example of them being self-aware and it working within the context of the story, because it was an exciting conclusion where they actually did win.
Yeah, in some ways, I was disappointed that we didn't have a crazier cliffhanger ending for the next season, but it doesn't always have to be. And I liked this story. This was one of the more satisfying stories, maybe not the most satisfying story, but one of the more satisfying of the season.
The most satisfying part to me was when they did the obvious thing of Mariner, but just like, man, I don't know how we stay in business. Oh, don't you worry about your money, head. It's like, especially since we donate everything to museums. It's like, oh, and it's like, okay, I get it. How long are they going to keep us on the hook? And then it's like, nope, we're just funded by an endowment from the Picard Foundation. It was great. Yeah. I love that twist.
I kept waiting for the the insidious this. It was like, no, it's Picard. He's just generous. He's a good guy.
That seemed really flat.
He does stuff like that. Yeah.
That seemed really flat to me. I don't know. I mean, I know he's a good guy and everybody worships him in this show, but I like, okay.
Well, yeah. What I liked is that it was a two-part judo flip where, yes, there was that like, haha, gotcha. We're not going to do that. And but the part that was more impactful to me was when Mariner was saying like, oh, I guess deep in my heart, I just, really missed Starfleet. I don't know, that kind of self-awareness processing, I rather like.
Yeah. I really don't have a whole lot more to add. It was an enjoyable episode, and it didn't leave us with a ton of questions for next season, but I'm still enjoying the show, so I can't wait for next season to begin.
I don't, who's the bad guy admiral who created the Texas class ships?
Buen Amigo.
Buen Amigo, right?
Buen Amigo, yeah.
Who just dies, just blows up, just very brutally.
Maybe it's a side effect of him just getting more passionate as it is revealed that he's a bad guy. But it seemed like his accent got a lot thicker once he became a bad guy.
No,
I think it's more the passion shining a spotlight on it.
He always had that accent.
Maybe.
He did always. It's Carlos Alazraqui. He knows how to do the right stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in general, are we satisfied with how they wrapped it up, or was our idea better?
Fine. Our idea was definitely
better,
for sure.
It was
sure.
Fine. Yeah.
That's fine.
All right, that is Star Trek Lower Deck Season 3, Episode 10. Let's talk about The White Lotus, Season 2, Episode 1. Now, Brian, you revealed on Cordkillers that you got tricked into watching Season 1, Episode 1, but you also watched Season 2, Episode 1, right?
Yes, and it made us late for this very program, but I liked Season 1 of Episode 1, or Episode 1, Season 1. I liked Episode 1 of Season 2, and I was glad to watch the two side by side for the parallels. So, and I don't know how the rest of Season 1 goes, but Episode 1 of Season 1 begins with representing the White Lotus brand, and you have this whinging softball of a guy who keeps contradicting himself as he tries to please everyone. And in this case, we have the person running the White Lotus, this particular iteration, very much a hard ass. Although they reveal that she's sensitive and is like bummed when what she thinks are prostitutes say that she's never had sex and she has a mean face or whatever. Like we see her really ashamed, which I think we'll unpack later on.
A little vulnerability there.
Yeah. Although I loved I don't want to say the prostitutes, because one of them seems very comfortable with the idea of just having sex for money. The other one does not. And they give a little bit of lip service to how she ended up in that place. And I loved the machinations of them having to get into the hotel where they know the business is, but not get busted as being ladies available for business. This is a great show. I wish somebody had told me when it came out that it was good.
Wow.
I also love how Valentina, whereas like you saw in season 1, the manager is very self-effacing, will contradict himself in order to just say whatever the guests want to hear. Valentina in season 2 has said, has some bluntness to her, and I don't know if that's meant to be like, it's a cultural difference between Europeans and Americans, but she tells F. Murray Abraham's character, because you're quite old.
Right.
Like
yeah.
with no
was it
sense
hard
that
to
was
travel?
inappropriate.
Because you're quite old.
So old.
I thought I was going to hate his continuous farting. Turns out I don't hate it. It's pretty funny.
Well, and also they don't play him as like senile. Like he farts and he's a little grabby, it seems, but he's not like feeble. He doesn't seem feeble. I mean, other than falling around.
As he'll be quick to assert, he's strong.
Yeah.
Like this. Great conversation. Compared to season 1, and I guess it's more for Tom, having seen all of season 1, how do you feel about the character archetypes we're being settled into versus, I guess, what we had in the last one?
Yeah. So we have the family, the rich family of misfits, but there's a spin on it, right? This time it's Aubrey Plaza, who's the misfit in a couple pairing, with her husband, whose college buddy is kind of a douche, and everybody agrees on that. Then you have Tanya with her man, and sort of deluding herself about how their relationship is going, but also bringing her assistant, showing that she also is kind of unable to really understand boundaries. And her assistant becomes a really interesting character compared to season 1, of, the person who's really not supposed to be there and is kind of a wild card, just floating around. And I like the family. I like the 3 generations of the DeGrassos. Seems like a perfectly fair trope of like, the Americans coming back to take grandpa to his roots in the old country and reconnect. I can't wait to see how badly that goes wrong. I don't know. It's a good sort of offset from season 1, where it's like very similar types of dynamics, but created in a different way.
That's an interesting thought that I didn't even think until just now. I wonder how much of an intergenerational commentary they're going to make with, clearly you have this grandpa who is, I don't know, all hat and no cattle, who is loving to flirt and maybe vocalizes about womanizing, but I get the impression very much doesn't do it, or is not successful at it. Then you have his son, who obviously is so successful at carousing that his marriage is a sham and a disaster. And the one time he calls L.A., he gets an earful. And it'll be interesting to see how his, the son is wrestling with this. Also, love the idea of the complicated idea of an assistant who's at her wit's end being told to hide in a room, and she just doesn't. My God, she just wants to get out there. And I'm enjoying the shenanigans that are probably going to come for that.
Yeah, and of course, as with season 1, you start to forget it's a murder mystery rather quickly, because the characters are so engrossing. But lurking back there is who's dead and who killed them.
And how many.
And how many.
And how many, because other guests are dead. Exactly. And you're starting to seed all of these different interlocking motivations of like who might be upset at whom, and have a grudge that might lead them in a fit of passion to kill. And even though Jennifer Coolidge's character Tanya is the only one to return from season 1, as a non-murderer from season 1, not a spoiler, simply because it's spoiler in time, but also because she's not in prison. She's just traveling.
Oh, they let me out.
I wouldn't rule her out as this, this time she might be the killer. I don't know. It's fun.
What do you think that scene with her trying to feed the macaroons to her husband was?
Well, she was hung up on that accusation.
Right. Which that alone would be you would crunch him up and
her
throw
of
him in
eating
his
them
face.
all.
Yes, correct.
It sounds like maybe he hid 2 of them to make her feel bad
Could be.
she ate the whole package. Maybe not. She, I think, is really just trying to show like, no, look, I didn't eat the whole package. I wasn't imagining it.
Yes.
And it's our first indication that it's sinking in that maybe he isn't treating her with as much respect as she thinks he does.
Yes to all of that. The only weird thing is if she was upset, you crunch him up, you throw him in his face or whatever, or you show them or whatever. It was very odd that she insisted he eat them.
I think that's because she wanted to show, because he had said like, I didn't get to eat any, you ate them all. I think it was with Tanya's character, I think it was a very innocent, like, oh, you wanted to eat them. So now you can eat them.
There you go. Hey, it works out for everybody. Meanwhile, she's like, you can also tell she's caught flat-footed because she was like, listening in on the phone call that he was making and
to Bob.
And so she was probably also panicking a little bit, because she's a little goofy.
Right.
She is a little goofy. Just whether you look at season 1 or here in this season,
a little gullible and soft, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
like when she gives that line when she first talks to her husband, as she's talking about the assistant. Like, I feel like it comes across really well with the way she delivers the line of like, well, it's not like she's going to be in our bed or anything. Like she was really just trying to be, pragmatic and compromise to some degree. Yeah.
She might be dying too. She might be a victim.
I hope not. Or I hope not.
Oh,
the only people we know are alive.
He eats me.
There are 3 people. There are 3 people alive. We see Rocco.
Oh,
we see Valentina, and we see the wife of the guy.
And
her. I can't find her name. Yeah, her.
Of the Silicon Valley seeming guy.
Of the Silicon Valley exec. Yeah.
What do you think's going on with that dynamic? Because I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to read it. Tell me if I'm reading into this too much. Because it seems like they're trying to set up with that story of the 2 couples that, oh, he's going to hit you up for money eventually. You just got a lot of money. He's going to hit you up for money. But I think, because we don't know their relationship, I think because she's an employment lawyer and they have that really heated conversation about all of that entire thing. And so I wonder if maybe she prosecuted him, or if for whatever reason she affected his business, and now
maybe she doesn't even realize it because it was a subsidiary of a subsidiary or something.
Yeah. And so now he's trying to that might explain why he undressed in front of her or in the room. Who knows? Right?
He's trying to trick her into doing something that will cause her own harm.
Oh, you were looking at my pee-pee.
or seduce her and get her and break up the relationship.
I don't know. Like the moment he asked to go up with her to put on, to borrow the swim trunks of his friends, like Silicon Valley's wife gives a look that indicates that this has happened a lot before, and whether they are, some kind of swinging couple or trying to groom something or whatever, like she's unsurprised and slightly miffed about it. He walks to the center of the room specifically so he can drop trowel where he'll be seen. HBO execs were thrilled that they showed more dong.
Another parallel to season 1 because you see he hangs a big dong in the first season too.
Including what looked to my eyes to be a vasectomy scar.
You're watching in 4K. Oh my goodness!
I mean, look, I really tried. I really tried to be good, and I gave it my full attention. I was very disappointed to find out I watched the wrong episode.
Oh no!
Wow. Yeah, there was something else. Oh, the references to the god of jealousy, where they explain that the head with the crown and the local myth behind it, and they keep showing it. Tanya sees it, when she says she was imagining something when they're having sex. So that is definitely either metaphorically, literally, or both going to play into this, how this all goes out.
That also, from what little I know of the character Tanya, seems like she wasn't trying to be mean, but genuinely, authentically explaining to her husband, "Oh no, I was just thinking of this stuff, and then I looked in your eyes, and they were shark's eyes. They were dead."
Yeah, yeah.
She's just being honest.
I really believe that she didn't have any intentions.
That's
Malicious intent. Oh,
That's a nice thing about this episode is you have all of these like little fuses that ought to be in a normal story. Like, we're going to have a blow up about this. We're going to address this, right? Whether it's Tanya during maritals when they have their whole conflicts, whether it's the tech couple and all. And you see a lot of diversions and de-escalations, right? Tanya's coming on to Greg. Greg says, "Oh, well, I'm going to go clean up." And instead of immediately being like, what is she up to? She's like, "Oh, he cares also." Like, we're not seeing the immediate jump to conflict and fighting, which is great. It's pacing. We're pacing.
Yeah.
I did dig that scene where the not sex worker of the two was genuinely explaining, like, "Oh my gosh, how great that you get to sing for a living. That's got to be awesome." And she's like, "I play the piano too." And he very much is like, "Yes, I'm sure you do. Can we skip to the part where I offer you money for sex?" That was well played, because you can see that moment of realization, and they didn't drag it out too long.
Yeah. Man, good first episode. Glad you enjoyed it. Looking forward to the next one.
Oh man.
Are you going to watch this? Are you going to watch season 1 and season 2 in parallel?
Oh, that would be crazy. You
It's
know what?
Fun.
I think I will. That'll be fun. If you don't mind, so we'll do an inverse of what we did with Westworld.
Yeah.
I'll give you a mini report on week after week what happened in the previous season at this time, and then
you'll keep watching season 2 as well.
Oh,
right?
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Because already, I mean, there were so many parallels, just beat for beat, note for note. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's very cool. Maybe I'll join you on that, because I had a lot of fun rewatching the finale. To get in the same headspace. This show's good. Y'all, this show's good.
That is The White Lotus, season 2, episode 1. Let's talk about Miami Vice, season 3, episode 17, The Afternoon Plane, starring John Leguizamo, guest starring John Leguizamo. And I didn't realize, again, it let me down. Vincent D'Onofrio, a very young Vincent D'Onofrio, shows up right at the beginning of the episode.
First of all, I'm ashamed to admit that I only in the last 30 seconds realized that was John Leguizamo, and that I totally missed Vincent D'Onofrio.
Well, the only reason I noticed it was Vincent D'Onofrio is I saw the credit that it said it was Vincent D'Onofrio, and I had to go look it up. I did not recognize him. I had to, partway through watching, I had to look up, like, which one is Vincent D'Onofrio? Because he does not sound, nor does he look like Kingpin.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, he'll always be Kingpin to me, although from that photo you could tell he always had that kind of brick build about him.
Sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. But his voice is very just flat American, right? He doesn't have that commanding Kingpin voice.
He's also doing like a primetime Friday nights NBC mid 80s cartoon drunk guy thing, where it's like, might as well be a Looney Tunes character.
Yeah, see, I'm the bad guy.
Right.
Also, you only get Don Johnson in the opening at the wedding. This is a full-on Tubbs episode, and a full-on Hispanic and Black character episode. There's only 3 white guys, and they're all in subservient positions in the entire story.
I loved that we finally got a Tubbs episode. I was a little bit sad that this was it.
Oh, really?
Well, this would have been a great, tighter 40-minute episode or whatever. But like, I think by 20 minutes in, we get it. We know he's in love. He's there. There's a plane with a bad guy who's going to kill him. He's got to find a gun. You get 20, 30, or 28 minutes of that, and then 2 minutes of a shootout in which, again, I understand the rules of primetime television. Nobody bleeds, nobody dies. And at the end, he picks up his girl, who clearly has not been shot at all. There's literally nothing wrong with her beautiful body as he picks her up and walks her inside.
I gave Miami Vice credit enough to think she was dead, and then he goes and picks her up. I'm like, oh, she's not dead. Okay.
Well, and to be honest, Tom, you brought up how in plays we don't freak out when the main character gets replaced. This made me think of Miami Vice as a play. Like, no, we can't show blood, of course not, but because this is a play, you understand she got shot, right? And I was like, well, maybe you could be less ambiguous about whether or not she dies at the end.
I guess they did leave it sort of ambiguous.
Yeah, because she's chatting with him as he carries her across the threshold.
Maybe she doesn't survive, but yeah. And this is definitely a retelling of High Noon.
I was going to say,
classic Western.
This is a High Noon story.
The working title of it was The Noon Plane, and they just made it the Afternoon Plane to kind of make it less obvious, I guess. I don't know.
But I agree with you, Brian. Like, it was a little one note. It was a lot of like, I need help and I need a gun because I'm going to have a shootout at the last 5 minutes of the show because it's Miami Vice. And we didn't have enough MacGuffins, so I'm just going to go around the island saying, I need a gun.
This is what happens with gun control. That's what this episode was telling me. Yeah.
Well, and also, like, nobody winked after saying guns are illegal on this island. Like, everyone with a straight face was insisting that.
Yeah, that was weird. But at the same time, they were all in on it. Like, oh, but you're the guy that they want. And I totally believe that nobody wants to give him a gun because he's the marked guy, right? So they don't want to be known as the person who helped him out. Although it was funny when the fisherman who with the moral qualms finally helps him out, he gives him the biggest rifle. I'm like, really? On the island of guns are illegal, you were hiding that big old rifle around? Okay, yeah, sure.
I mean, and this is the first person shooter in me coming out where it's like, oh, that's a bad long distance weapon. You need
also
something.
That. Yeah.
Back then, it was old Doom shotgun rules. It was a lot tighter back then.
So, question at the very beginning, and I didn't go back and check it again because I was trying to watch the whole episode, but I'm pretty sure at the beginning, and maybe they were meant to go in a different order, but Tubbs chides Don Johnson about, like, where's this girlfriend? I'm beginning to think she doesn't exist. And meanwhile, I this is the first time in a while we've watched two episodes that chronologically came out back to back, and I'm like, he was gonna marry her, and now she's in rehab. He's torn up inside. Why are you making what?
Where's your girlfriend? Where's your girlfriend doing smack?
We just watched her.
I took it as like, oh man, Crockett's already moved on. Okay, yeah, or he's telling a story because he hasn't moved on, but he wants people to think he's moved on. Like. Yeah, it gets complicated. If you try to
it didn't feel like a good look because I went back and I checked the wiki just to make sure. I'm like, well, she didn't die, but I mean, she overdosed.
They shipped her off. Yeah. I guess maybe that's meant to, like, because I guess if the idea is like, oh, well, Crockett loves her so much and he sends her off, like, well, the whole point of that episode was
he was giving her up.
Yeah, giving her up. Either you're going to go be with her and help her through her recovery, or you're going to stay here and give her space.
Or the Afternoon Plane was originally supposed to air before Teresa.
I think. I think that's most likely.
Gonna say.
It's also the end of the Calderon trilogy.
That's right. All the Calderon stuff is done. Tubbs got his revenge, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A good premise, a good subject. I was not thrilled with the execution on this one.
It was a little draggy. Yeah, it was. Yeah, but they
really run through the premise really fast. Like all of the church stuff, like. You know, oh, you got a ticket and it was from a kid. Now I got to go. And where am I going? It was a little a little slapdash at the very beginning, which is strange because it does kind of lull a little bit in that second act.
Yeah.
They could have spent a little more time on the build up, and also when he sees the kid, it's like immediately like, I've been tricked. Like
he learns that very quickly.
Well, it also speaks out loud. There can't be two children who look similar.
Never.
I liked what they were aiming for, but in an island without guns, forgive the pun, it's hard to hit the target.
Well played. Yeah, there were some good parts to it. It was just kind of uneven, a little draggy for me. That is Miami Vice season 3, episode 17. Now, next week, a little bit of a change in a couple of things. We are going to continue to watch The White Lotus, season 2, episode 2. We will skip ahead one Miami Vice to Red Tape. So that's season 3, episode 19. That stars Viggo Mortensen and Lou Diamond Phillips. So if you're looking forward to that, look for Red Tape from Miami Vice. And we have an open slot. So I am going to make Brian and Bryce watch the first episode of the Korean drama 2521. It's available on Netflix. You can watch it with subtitles or dubbed. So whichever is easiest for you, whichever is going to bring you the most enjoyment. The dub is actually pretty good. I've only sampled a little bit of it in the first episode, but it's pretty good. 2521 takes place in the 90s in Korea during the IMF crisis, when a bunch of people went bankrupt at the time. So we'll be watching that, Miami Vice, Red Tape, and The White Lotus. That's it for Spoilerin Time. Thanks, everybody. Spoil you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.